Okay, folks, welcome back. And nothing has happened. Nothing has happened while you were not here. We're going to go. These KVs are plenty dry now with the dry brush color on them. And we're going to go ahead and give them the strong tone from Army Painter. I was about to say Agrax Earthshade. I guess I'm just habit to calling it that. And we're going to put these things on here. And hold on one second. Okay, and we're back. So we're using a strong tone, and go ahead and put that on these. These are the super readers. I don't think they are. Nope. No, we're going to need the super readers for this. And it's just, actually, sure, do the running gear first. It's just easier to just go ahead and apply this directly, because we're going to end up swishing it around anyways. And I used to use the Agrax Earthshade, but the problem with it is it went up in price significantly, and worse than that, it just turned into a different product. The resin or whatever that was in it, the resin that was in the wash, ended up being very sticky. Shortly thereafter, applying it, it became very sticky, and just behaved differently in a worse way. So I switched over to the Army Painter product, and I actually bought a new product. I went into town and got a new product for the next thing I was kind of working on. So after these guys are drying, we'll start working on that, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. And I did kind of some research. because I don't want to get started on the wrong foot and then regret my decision and have to repaint something. So I value my time a lot. I want to make sure that I don't waste my time doing stuff like that. These, of course, are the Pegasus models, 2-pack of Pegasus models of the KV set. Very hard to get a hold of. What's up, man? Oh, we got some juicy stuff for you. If you can hang on, I gotta finish these, and then we will start working on the other project. Good to see you came back. Okay. Yes, this is the Pegasus. I was saying, this is the Pegasus set that is very hard to get a hold of. I don't know why. You can get Pegasus stuff. You can get the T26s and the BT7s are relatively easy to find. Those are all 2 to a pack. The M26 Pershings only come 1 to a pack for some reason. It's not like it's that much bigger of a vehicle. The KV2s, the KV1s, all come 2 to a pack. And this set, you can make, this is unique because you can make the KV1s, actually 2 versions of the KV1. The standard one or the one with the improved bolted on armor. You can make that one, or you can make KV2s. So it actually gives you the KV1 turrets, the applique armor for the KV1 turrets, and the KV2 turrets. So you basically get 2 hulls. You get 2 hulls in each pack and 4 turrets. And the KV1s you can make either way. They're very hard to get a hold of. I don't even remember how I even got these. I think I overpaid for them, but I honestly don't remember. But anyhow, I got a hold of these, and I got 2 sets of them. I would have got more if there was had an access to even more of them, because they are a good value. And they also make KV1Ss. They make the KV1 Model 1942, I believe is what it's called. It's the ugliest KV as far as I'm concerned. I think it's the least attractive one, the 1942 version of it. Those also come 2 to a pack, but apparently these are very hard to get a hold of. This particular pack of them. I don't know whether they realized, we're losing our ass giving people extra turrets, or it was just a limited production run and people are buying these up. I don't really know what the reasoning is for them, but they're very hard to get a hold of. Not all Pegasus models are the same. These, I think, are very high quality. I think the T26s are good. The BT7s are good. It's the King Tigers that are just ass. Mainly for 2 reasons. The first one is that the plastic won't glue by traditional methods. It will not bond with itself. It's really weird. Mimic Tom, welcome. Yes, this is Strong Tone from Army Painter. I used to use Agrax Earthshade, and they went up on the price significantly, and they altered the product to one that was very, very sticky. Which it just behaved weird. Like if you went over it, you'd mess up what you did, and I'm not used to that. So double whammy. They made a crappier product and they charged more for it. Pick one. You can either make it crappier or go up in price. Actually, if it's a crappy product, why are you even buying it? So I went to this. I decided to try this Strong Tone, and it's about the same thing, same color wise. It's a brown wash. I can make my own, but you need to delegate some responsibilities, and that's what I decided to delegate, is not spending the time trying to make this wash. I don't go through it that much of it, so But yeah, this is the Army Painter Strong Tone. I'm not a huge fan of their paints, only because they behave odd. When you thin them down, they behave in a way I'm not a huge fan of. They're kind of watery and transparent to a degree, but it's good that I'm using all kinds of different manufacturers, not like I've sold my soul to so and so. Speaking of Tiger tanks, Tacom has new 3 Tiger 1 tanks in 1/35 scale, and apparently they're the best kits on the market now. Yeah, and Tacom is Chinese, right? So the Chinese can make decent stuff if they want to. I think the trumpeter kits I've put together are very good. They have a problem with open hatches, but other than that, they're excellent. They give you lots of decals. Yeah, check it out. So that's what I do. I base these guys black. This is just my style that I do it in. And then instead of hand painting or airbrushing the base color, I just decided, well, why don't I just dry brush it? And that way I leave some black in some of the recesses. It keeps me from doing a black wash. And then I'm doing the brown one on top of it. We're going to dry brush this main Russian green on top of it as well in some places. And then you get some variations in color. That's not modulation, variations. Might be the same thing, just variation seems more appropriate. And this is a product that's available at the local freak show. I'm sorry, the gamer store, Land of the Carnies. Just some strange cats there. There's some strange cats there, but they have a full rack of this stuff, so. And they also have Vallejo. So I restocked on a couple of colors I was really low on. And, starting to spill the beans a little bit, I got soft tone. Why did I get soft tone? I'm going to use this for the desert. So, I did some research on, I was trying to do it online, but I don't want to bore you guys with it. I did some research on the counter scheme, right? And they make, AK makes a set, and now Vallejo makes a set. And I figured, before that, they had made colors you could use. But Vallejo got on this kick with Flames of War of like, we're going to release these other colors, and we're going to call them XYZ. And even though some of them might be really similar to some other colors we make. Well, I had bought the Vallejo line, or one of each paint, way back when. And that was pre them doing that, right? You got British North Africa vehicles and tanks, didn't you? No, I still have the one. But I went to the Flames of War site, and I'm like, okay, what are the equivalents? And on the Flames of War site, which I'm not a fan of Flames of War, but their site is excellent. Give credit where credit's due. And they gave you some schemes of, the proper counter scheme, not the one that uses light blue and stuff like that. One that has various shades of gray. And the article they have in there names the new colors of the paints, which I don't have, and they don't sell locally. I'd have to, buy them. And I don't, I kind of wanted to mess with this tonight. So I did a little bit more researching, and there's a person who did an article on color matching using the standard Vallejo colors. Okay, so that's what I did. So dark sand is, so there's 2 colors of the core color, right? This is one of them, the yellower one, and then there's this one as well. And these are the other 2 counter schemes. This is German Field Gray is the dark one, and this one I believe is called Gray Green. Gray Green. And then this is Dark Sand, which I use anyways to mixing in with this green for the highlight. I think I got that from Sledgehammer. And stone gray, I didn't know if I had it, but I had a feeling this was going to be really watery, so I bought a new stone gray. I bought a new one of these too, because I knew I was going to go through this dark sand a lot. And then I just kind of painted them on a white thing here. So in a nutshell, the counter scheme is either this core color as a base with the other two, or this one with the other two. So I think I'm going to do my A13 with this color as the base, and then these other two. And we're going to see how it turns out. And it might look great. It might look like crap, you know. Tacos Chinese, unfortunately, but they make a good... Well, you know, you get to the point where it's like, maybe the people that work there are actually good folks, and they're just stuck in the communist regime, you know, which is probably most people in China. But Flames of War Hobby section on the site is really great resources. Yeah, they have some great stuff. They have some really good stuff. All those colors, I think my dark sand may be at its end. Yeah. Well, no, and then the Archer this morning. You didn't see the Archer. Archer's coming along really well. Lighting in here probably doesn't do it justice. But this is an extremely crappy model of this vehicle. And this is what we were painting up this morning. So we're going to do the wash on the KVs. While that's drying, we're going to do the base color on the A13. While that's drying, we're going to move on the Archer. And when we get to a stopping point there, you know, we're going to alternate with these three things, because when a wash is involved, there's some drying time that has to take place, which I'm not really used to working in it with acrylics. You can just pretty much do one thing after another, and not have to wait for things to dry. But when you're using the wash like this, it takes a little bit of time. Nothing crazy, but, you know, so that's why we're hopping around. I generally don't like to hop around. It encourages you to not finish shit. And I didn't come here to not finish shit. So, like, I don't go to work to do things incorrectly. You know? That's not a feel-good moment. So we're going to paint these KVs, knocking into the 100 or so vehicles that I have. And it's actually, normally that would be a scary number. Like, I don't even want to tell you how many 15 millimeter ancients and medieval miniatures I have. It's a lot more than 100. It's probably a lot more than 1,000. Like, significantly. But I don't have a problem not using them all. You know, they're just there for variety. Well, this one's already on a clip, so let's do the KV2 turret. The A13 is the juicy thing you mentioned. Are you painting A13 in France 19? No, I'm not. No, the juicy thing was that I did the... we're going to jump into the counter. I'm not waiting on a paint set. I think this will be fine. So what I'm planning on doing is dry brushing it overall in the, what is that color called? Stone gray. Okay, then that's got to dry. Then we're going to use soft tone. We're not going to use strong tone. We're going to use soft tone. And we're going to dry brush on it again. In other words, I don't think I'm going to paint the counter and then do the strong tone and then go over. I don't know. I'm kind of have mixed feelings about it. I had half a mind to go ahead and finish up. I have a little Humber Scout car that is not usable because it has a turret that won't move. The person I bought it from in an estate sale had glued the turret so it won't move. And I've tried to get it to release, but it uses weld cement, and I tried to break through it, and it's just, I'm not getting anywhere with it. So I had half a mind to test one of those two methods. Any camouflage I've done, though, I have not done the wash over it. So by rights, to be consistent, that's the order I should do it in. I should do the wash and then do the do the do the painting of the do the dry brushing of the base color, not all the counter stuff either. It also keeps me from having to repaint the counter stuff every time. So we're gonna try it that way. If I don't like how it looks, well then I know I chose poorly. But it's not my first rodeo, and I do get things wrong sometimes, but I'm pretty confident that I can fix anything that I'm not happy with. So that's what we're going to go with. When in doubt, go the easier method. There's no reason in complicating your life and spend a ton of work and then realize you don't like it. You know, if you're not going to like it, you might as well do it the easy way. The Humber is plastic. It's the Hasegawa kit, I believe. Army painter dries out in about an hour. Yeah, something like that. You got several 115mm World War II miniatures in my defense. They're the only miniature I have, and I got them a few weeks ago. Yeah, this stuff works pretty well. You can slather it on, and it levels itself pretty well. Not as good as the Vallejo Surface Primer. That's like a miracle for self-leveling. And you can make your own stuff, but hey, I gotta sub things out to somebody eventually. I just decided this is what I'm going to sub out. All right. Another Clementi Verishilov turret. So I believe my other KV2 has a slogan on it. So one of these is going to have a red star. One of them is going to have a different slogan, that kind of stuff. But these turrets are going to be removable so I can use them with the holes as need be. This just gives you a little bit of a color variation when you go and you dry brush over it. And I just decided to just do the base color in dry brushing because it saves time. It saves some time, and I can do it here. I don't have to airbrush it. Think you can use simple green to weaken that bond? Am I the only one that doesn't like the smell of simple green? It smells a taste. That's different. It smells like a almost oily. Now the one thing I am a fan of the smell of is this stuff called Citrus Strip, and it damn near smells like oranges. Just like the weld cement made by the folks in California, Microweld, smells like oranges. It smells like California oranges. But it sure as hell welds parts together. That's what I used to use in the 90s. We carried that in the store, and kind of fell in love with it because at the time there was not a glue applicator that was very, very thin. So the thinnest glue applicator you had for the weld cement was the one that came in the tester's bottle, and it's not very small. So the micro weld actually doesn't come with an applicator, so you just use a regular paintbrush. I guess you could probably do that anyways with a with one of the ones from with the testers mix. But I don't know. I was 19, 20. I wasn't smart enough to figure that shit out, right? So we just used a regular paintbrush with a small paintbrush with the micro weld, and we're really happy with it. May have pictures of Polish machine gun teams the next day or so. I'm going to try finishing painting the bases and get the static grass down. Good deal. I take it that's 1939 Poles, right? Pretty sure that's what you're working on. Well, I got another comment from somebody that didn't understand why I put my vehicles on bases. I don't know why people are so averse to that. They're playing pieces. And, there's some vehicles that are going to have to be on bases. They have to be because they're too delicate. So at that point, with that understanding, do you want some of your vehicles on bases or all of them on bases? Well, I want consistency. And one thing that I was not expecting, because the actual individual vehicle, I'm fine whether it's on a base or not. It's not like it's got to be on a base. They look fine not on a base, but they look like crap if some of your stuff is on bases and some isn't. Like if you've got some truck by Eschi that decides to give you all this tinkering type of suspension on it that's very delicate. You can't put that on the War Games table and not expect that repair in every other game, at least. So, that needs to be on a stand. Well, I don't want some of my vehicles on stands and some of them not on stands. And all the infantry has to be on stands, so just put them all on stands. I guess some people are, that bothers them. Well, that's fine. It doesn't bother me, Different strokes for different folks. You have to have a stand for the infantry figures. Hell, mine even have a fucking name on them, Not all stands are created equal. I like stands as long as they don't look like a flip-flop and have the name of the ship on them. But, if people want that, we're talking, of course, the Warlord Games ones that look like somebody commented, it looks like your ship's on a flip-flop. I lost it. It's like, yep, that pretty much nails it right there. All right. Let's grab Mr. A13, and we actually have to do one thing with this guy that I've forgotten all about, and that's I need to touch up things that the black may not have gotten to. Like there's a lot of places here with that. So maybe we won't be able to do the A13 tonight. Well, it's the thought that counts. Let's see how far we can get along. I hate opening this thing. It's like a shit show. All right, let's do what we did this morning. We're going to pour some of this out. And then we're going to use a brush that's a lot more maneuverable than that one. Say this one. And this stuff really gets everywhere. Like, it flows really well. Like thinned down enamel paint. There's not a whole lot, just places I couldn't get the airbrush in without the risk of putting a lot more paint in other places. If you're basing your infantry, it makes sense to base a vehicle so the figures don't look out of proportion scale. Consistent basing makes a difference in my experience. Probably going to have stands for vehicles and tanks and 15mm using the same plastic card you're using. The stuff's great, man. Go with that thickness. It's really, really hardy. It's the .2 one, by the way. Yeah, and in my case, I magnetize them all. So I could play on the side of a refrigerator if I wanted to. That's not why. It's just if you got to move. Hey, I didn't get anything that was damaged that ran into each other. So, hey, it's just what I want to do. And it's better to go ahead and do that from the beginning instead of like you're 200 vehicles in and like, man, I wish I'd put them on stands. And then you got to base everything. You base your figures and vehicles on 2mm MDF. No warping. MDF's a cool material. Now here we would use plywood, but there's no wood left in your country, is there, Jeffrey? Had to use it to build all those ships for your Navy to fight old Nappy. Gotta step away. Don't forget your hall pass, man. You still have those in schools. I remember it'd be a hall pass. I gotta go to the bathroom. Take the hall pass. I guess that's the early version of where are your papers? It's the hall pass. I mean, this is about it. There's not a whole lot that didn't get hit. Okay, let's put this guy right here. And the turret, which I will guarantee there's some spots that need to be hit on it because this little sliver that goes in between the actual turret and the applique armor on the side is very hard to get an airbrush spray into there. Ed Allen, welcome back, man. Good to have you. I could say happy Sunday, but this time Sunday's not really a happy time. It's like, oh man, did I have as much fun as I could on Sunday because the work week is coming. I don't really dread Mondays though. It's Fridays I actually don't like. Well, it doesn't make any sense. I said, well, you got to get through the day. I mean, once Friday's over with, yeah, it's a great day, but I'm tired. I'm tired dealing with a work shit. Ed, what part of the world you hail from? Where the hell are you from? This is really a strange vehicle. And actually, it's a vehicle that way back in the day I thought it were really unattractive. From the side view, it looks like the turret's too far forward. San Francisco Bay Area, no warping. It was a problem when you used artboard. Okay, artboard is like that stuff that you use for to put around a frame, like matting stuff. San Francisco area. You familiar with Manny Granillo? He's up in that area. He's come to our cons in Florida several times. Nice guy. He does this scale too. This guy's all kinds of nooks and crannies. Well, if this thing works out and is durable, I'll definitely be getting more of them. You know Manny, yep. Yeah, he's come to Florida several times. You mean Granillo? No, I mean Granillo. Some of us have to compromise the pronunciation of our names so that folks can say them a certain way. Mine's included. So, I get it. Yeah, he does 1/72. I'm not sure if he paints them or not, or he just subs the painting out to somebody else. I'd like to sub my work out. You know, like get somebody to work for me. I can do this. I want to sub out the one thing I like. Okay. Those are drying. That is doing its thing. So now we can't do any of those things. So let's move to Mr. Archer. Wife's Two Towers TV is too loud. Can't hear you anymore. Tell her to shut up. No. Oh, man. Two Towers. That a Stephen King thing? Seems like that's a Stephen King. Go watch TV with her. I have a hard time watching TV with my wife. She's very difficult. She admits it. She knows it. She owns it. Okay, let's go ahead and paint the tracks on this dude. And for that, I like to use rusty things. I actually like to use this dark brown. It works really well. I've been happy with it. Used to be called SS Camo Black. Now it's just called German Camouflage Black Brown. No doubt it's one of the colors in the SS Smock, and that's why it's called that way. Oh, Lord of the Rings movie 2. Okay, Isengard. Oh. I took my wife way back when. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I'm not even a Lord of the Rings fan. That doesn't mean I hate it. I'm just not a Lord of the Rings fan. I never read the book. It's fiction. Why would I bother reading fiction when so many really cool things happen? But anyhow, when the first movie came out, I think we just got married at the time. And we're like, hey, let's go to this movie I want to go see. And she was a little bit more willing to go on movies that, I might have suggested. Now I just forget it, But anyways, we sat through that movie, and she was so disappointed when she found out that she had to sit through 2 other movies for it to come to its conclusion. She's like, I'm not sitting through the other ones. And in her defense, it was a bit boring. But that's just me. I'm not a fantasy person. So she never watched the other ones. So my daughter, when she became old enough to watch those kind of movies, I'm like, all right, I'll watch them with her. We watched the first one with her, watched the second one with her, and she didn't want to watch the third one. And I've only seen them, other than those times, I've only seen them once. And I don't tend to rewatch things. I don't tend to rewatch things. And I can't do this while I'm watching TV. If there was a TV in here, like I had in my other painting room, I had a TV up on the wall, I can't watch it. I'd be like, and then this dried, and then, I got to rinse my brush. It's counterproductive. I can't do it. But I'm one of those people that if the TV's on, I'm watching it, or I turn it off. If I'm not in the room, there's not a light in the room on. Just stuff like that. The book is better overall, but the Battle of Helm's Deep much better in the movie than the book. That the final battle or I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't care for, I don't like, I'm about to piss everybody off. I don't care for Christopher Lee. How could you? I don't. He's like, I don't like him. I don't like him. So I didn't say he was a good actor. I said I don't like him. So I didn't care for the fact when they turned him into the wizard that switched sides, he was wearing white. I know it's ironic, but I don't like stuff like that. But and my favorite character, of course, is the one played by Sean Bean. Killed his ass. I'm like, great, no reason to watch this thing anymore. Well, they missed out on one of the best movies made, Return of the King. Funny you say that because I saw all three opening night. After my first one, people got angry it ended there. My response was, it literally says Fellowship of the Ring, and there are 3 books, so you should know beforehand there are 3 movies. Well, I knew there was going to be 3. I'm a fan, but she's a deep watch it over and over, go to the cons, and get the autograph fans. The turret on the A-13 was a shot trap. Yep. There's an interior photo in Airfix magazine guide 8th Army showing the effect of 50mm shell that has partly penetrated the turret and the paint spalling. Yeah. Well, at least it was fast. Okay. So now that's got to dry. So now can we do anything? You got to hop around. You got to be flexible, Got to be flexible. What can we do? We can't do the dry brush on the side because the tracks plays into that. That's why I did the tracks. We're going to paint our own emblems on here, or attempt to. I ain't scared. I am not scared. So we are in an impasse. Let's rinse this thing off. Though I haven't seen him in a ton of stuff. I haven't seen Christopher Lee in a ton of stuff. I've never seen him as Dracula. And he probably makes a good Dracula, Christopher Lee from time minimum comparison to others. Character was Saruman the White. The white part is significant because it symbolizes position in the order of Mare, also known as wizards. Got to go texture some bases. See ya. All right, man. Thanks for stopping by. There's no reason I can't dry brush this. All right, we're going to do not dark sand. We're going to use the lighter color. So let me pull up a picture to see kind of what I would like to do. Okay, and this is, we're going to go A13 Tank Cruiser Mark IV images. And as much as I like the Crusader stripes, the Operation Crusader stripes, and if you don't want to know what I'm talking about, it's this. The little red and white things that they used during Operation Crusaders. Okay? And we're not going to do that one. I bet I saved the picture of it, didn't I? No, I should have saved the picture. Yeah, so this is the article that I saw that somebody had done. And used, well, in this one it's dark sand. It's dark sand, and the other tone, that the base color was used both of them. Well, maybe let me reconsider this. Let me find the photograph. That, oh boy, this poor thing's seen better days. Very much a Lord of the Rings nut. Yeah, this is the Operation Crusader stuff. They went hog wild, painting on the fenders and stuff. But the scenarios that I actually have is right at the beginning of the Desert War. So that doesn't mean I'm not going to paint some that way if they work out. It's just I'm not going to start with that. Let me find the paint. Yeah, here's another example of the wild colored one. It actually looks pretty cool. But we're not starting with that one. We won't do that as the test bed. Okay, here's the photograph I was looking for. This top one here. So maybe it is dark sand. Okay, so we'll use dark sand. So we're going to have the colors that we're going to have. I'm going to cover over the other shade. This is the colors that we're looking at. That's the base color, and here's the other two. All right? And they use both of them interchangeably at different times. Some were painted in one tone here. Here's another one. Also looks like it has the yellower version. So we're going to dry brush the whole thing using dark sand. Okay? Which the ironic thing about dark sand is the colors of my desert basing, the desert basing I plan on using is just like the basing I used for some of my 15mm armies. And I will show you, it's the same basing I use for my Carige and that Book 1 army that I have, Amorites. So I'm going to go ahead and pull one of their stands out as soon as I find them, wherever the hell I hid them at. Yeah, because I actually bought a bunch of these extra cake pans. So here's all my 15mm armies. They're in the drawers of that of the case, and I even kept this in case I return them at Wally World. But I haven't done that yet. So, because I did have to buy about $100 worth of them. But you know what? My stuff's really safe. Here is the Carige. Here's the Carige. These guys right here. So the desert basing I'm going to use is going to look like this. We're going to have a little bit of grass. We're going to have some rocks. So the ironic thing is one of the colors in there is of the base color is dark sand. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. But we're going to do soft tone and stuff on it. We'll do one as a test bed. We'll leave this Carige stand out here and put the rest of them away. And that's one of those things that's hard to remember what colors I use for that stand, so I do write that stuff down. Desert basing. Base color, English uniform. Then green ochre, then dark sand. Okay, so dark sand's at the end. Nah, it should work fine. It should work fine. Yep. Strap yourself in. Now, I know damn well I'm going to be putting this yellowish type color on black. And it's going to look green. I don't care. That's how I paint. It'll be fine. I'm prepared for that. So you know, don't judge a book by its cover just yet. So let's smooch some of this out. You know what? I might actually grab the older dark sand, which hopefully is a similar color. And it's going to be thicker. And it should apply a little bit better. Now I could dust this with an airbrush, but just in consistency, actually, it's going to look really, really light. And you're going to actually see with this method how much detail these 3D printed Chinese things actually have. They have a lot of detail. The only gripe I would have with them is they're very, very brittle, and they have some parts that I don't think are very, very durable. Look at it. It's got really nice detail on it. And this is definitely, if you don't want to put your vehicles on stands, you're probably going to get screwed with this thing. Because these tracks are very, very delicate. They're very, very brittle. And, you know, it could be a problem. I'm just going to keep going over this, and it's going to leave some black in areas that I'm going to want them to have shadows, and we've got to get in there with a smaller brush and take care of that. We'll do the other side too. This is weird. This gap that's in between the second and the third road wheel. It just seems odd. Almost kind of like they put this thing together out of a bunch of spare parts. But that's the only reason I'm hopping around, is I have to, because the thing's drying. I'd rather just okay, we're going to work on KVs, and that's all we're going to do. But because there's a wash section, see, look at this. The openings for the vents. You know, you do this and you're automatically leaving them black. And I probably will give them a little bit of a wash in there too, just so it could stand out a little bit more. And I could very well hate how this looks, okay? Because people that do desert vehicles in 1/35th scale, for instance, what they like to do is they like to give like a wash maybe of this color over the entire vehicle, you know, simulating like sand and dust that works its way into the crevices. But the problem is that looks like crap 3 feet away in a miniature because there's not enough contrast. As a matter of fact, it looks like you did it wrong. It looks like a realistic vehicle, but remember, it's got to be a balance between a playing piece and a realistic vehicle. That's just my style. So this is exactly how I did the KVs. The only thing I'm going to do different is we're going to do, instead of using strong tone, we're going to use soft tone. And that's probably the only thing I'm going to dislike about the whole method, is if I actually chose poorly. So we're just going to get everything covered up with just a basic color. And then we'll start going over it. Yeah, see, as you go over it, it's going to leave some dark areas here. And I like that. I've been really happy with that method. So this color right here is the light highlight color of the triad of colors that makes up the basing on this stand. So the lightest color on this stand is this color right here. That's just coincidence. You know, if we had poly S, if I was still using poly S, this color would be called Middlestone. So we're just going to go over this, building it up slowly. You also do this and no two tanks look the same. There's enough, call it modulation, whatever. I call it variation, stuff like that, that no two tanks look the same. They're all weathered differently. And if this works really well, I can tell you right now, the next vehicle I'm going to do after this thing's finished is a Panzer I. Because I already have a Panzer I ready to go. I don't need... A Panzer I's actually more useful in North Africa than in Russia. It's not that they don't use them in Russia, but they're a little bit more prolific's not the word I'm looking for, but they're more useful in the desert. They're more well, I got some desert scenarios that have them in them. I don't have any in Russia. And it'll give me an opportunity to paint them like I'm planning on painting them, which is I'm going to paint them gray, like a normal gray vehicle, and then we're going to come in and dust the shit out of them like this. Just imagine this thing was a base. Let's say this was a German vehicle, right? And it's all going to be a gray like this color, right? And then I'm going to come in with a yellow, like it's been, you know, the colors that are in the basing. Actually, that's exactly what I'm going to do. These colors that are in the basing, I'm going to dry brush it on the vehicle. So the vehicle will end up looking like it's in that terrain from the dust and stuff. I don't like Africa Corps vehicles that are painted in yellow. I like the ones that are like, they showed up gray and then they just got naturally camouflaged. And just see how it works out. What could go wrong? If I don't like it, I'll just repaint it. Hasn't happened yet on a vehicle, but the fast cruisers went on to use a modified Christie, which carried through the Cromwell, Comet, and Centurion. It's funny because I associate Christie suspension with fast vehicles, and a Centurion, in my opinion, is not a fast vehicle. I'm not saying it's Churchill slow, but it's a slower vehicle. And he added, what was the original gun on the Centurion? Was a 20-pounder. Like, I don't even know what the hell caliber that is. I think it's like an 83 or something like that, right? Isn't a 20-pounder like an 83 caliber weapon or something? And we're going to do this to a certain point. Then we're going to give this the wash. Wait for the wash to dry. Then we're going to go back over with this color. The wash is just to add some brownness in it. Some other colorations. But I find this slow buildup of color really satisfying. It's very therapeutic. It's therapeutic because I don't have to get this thing done by any specific time. If it's like, hey, you got to get this thing done tonight, maybe it wouldn't be so therapeutic because there's certainly quicker ways to do it. But I think it adds a lot of character. It's consistent with how I've been doing all the other things. And it sounds good on paper. It sounds good on microphone. And the Centurion always has like a really odd shaped turret. I mean, sure, there's probably a reason why it has that shape. It's just kind of an odd shape of a turret. And I don't really find it very attractive until the Israelis got a hold of it. As the Israeli Centurions have a lot of character. And the Aussies use some and send them to Vietnam. I think. I don't know what the hell they were armed with in Vietnam, but I'm pretty sure the Americans, the tanks that they used, well, they used Sheridans, but they also used M48s, right? I don't think the M60s were around yet. I could be wrong. Maybe they were. And if they did, they probably had the 90 millimeter gun, I'm guessing. Not my weak point, not my strong point, modern vehicles, because I don't game it. You want to be proficient in something? Start gaming a period. You know, assuming you want to game it correctly, you know, and you want to come up with the right answer. That's the best way to get educated is game it, or as I like to say, take part in it. Okay, you see how this is building up here nicely? All right, we're going to have to get in here with a smaller dry brush. I may like this too much. I won't like my other vehicles. Oh well. You like the Challenger 2 dark green paint scheme. Fast cruisers evolved into MTBs, Centurion's 20 pounder being the first British tank to balance protection, speed, and firepower. But it was relatively slow, right? Like it's slower than a Sherman, is what I'm saying. It also had a ton of armor, if I remember correctly. And they were in Korea, right? So I bet it was a damn good vehicle in Korea. Seems like a hell of a lot better vehicle than a Sherman. Not really into modern armor, but I do. The scheme because it reminds me of the scheme the BEF used in France. Yeah, I like that. I like the BEF scheme. I actually the tank I really like the way it looks is the Chieftain. I think the Chieftain is just really sexy. And when it came out, it always had 100. I believe it always had a 120 millimeter gun. Always. Since the day it came out. So when it came out, it was like that's a big nasty. And it has a unique shaped turret too, but it's a good looking. It is a good looking vehicle. Good looking vehicle. All right, we're about done with this as far as we're going to want to take this. Pre-wash. You need this down so that the wash has something to adhere to. I'm actually kind of glad I used this color and not the other one because this one's less gray. The other one would look more gray, but I've been thinking about trying 1/35 scale model. Really not my interest. I do like the look of the Merkava. I don't like the Merkava. Sorry. It's not the ugliest vehicle. It just doesn't do anything for me. To carry a whole squad or half a squad? All right, I think we're going to need to get something a little bit better to get a better purchase on this thing while we're grabbing it. So let's take some stickum. And we're going to shove this stickum in the bottom. Stickum with a stickum. No, of course not. I think a Merkava would be great for a skirmish game. You know, you show up with a Merkava and a squad. But, you know, I like things regardless of whether or not they're worth a damn. So, for instance, I really like the look of MiG-23s. MiG-23s might be a piece of shit. I like the look of them. I don't care. I like the look of the, whatever the hell it is, flogger? Yeah. I'd like the look of them. I like MiG-23s in the natural finish. I like MiG-23s in the desert finish. I'm a fan of MiG-23s. And they might be a piece of crap, flown by a moron. I still like the look of them. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Just like I like the look of T-35s. And probably you will have a hard time finding a vehicle less effective in the Second World War than a T-35. They were taken out so fast, they didn't even have time to put slogans on them. They were taken out so fast before the Russians realized they were getting their ass surrounded everywhere. But I still like the look of them. Is there any vehicle that you wouldn't do a model of it or a miniature of it because you just dislike how it looks terribly? Like, what is the most disliked vehicle? You're just like, there's no way. I mean, I think the ugliest vehicle of the Second World War, easily, the T-35 slogan was Deep Sixed. No, I was talking about T-35s this morning. You weren't here, but one thing I was saying is I have one built and I've got like 4 more to make. And the problem with the T-35 is that if you look at photographic evidence of them, they either didn't have any markings at all, or had a red star on them, or had those little dashes on the turret. That's it. There was nothing else, any photographic evidence of them. So they're very, very limited. Deep Sixth Comrade. Yeah. So this is the part you got to be careful with. Because I am not a fan of 3D printed stuff, because if you got to repair it, you can't use weld cement, because this stuff doesn't work on weld cement. And I tried it. So I've got enough T-35s, I might do something unique with one of them. And no, I don't mean some crazy, something plausible. Okay? Plausible. Now, the only gripe that I have about this thing is this is supposed to be a A13 Mark IV-A tank, which had this extra added on that was added for the service in the desert. And one of the things they did right off the bat is they replaced the coax machine gun, the 30 cal coax machine gun, with a Beza. A Beza. I believe they call it a Beza. Czechoslovakian designed, I believe, machine gun, which was very reliable. And this one has a water-cooled 30 cal in there. But we're just going to ignore that and move on. Okay, now let's put the top on the bottom and see what we're looking at. So some people would just leave it like this. No, you need more depth. If you're going to use dry brushing and you're going to do washes, you need to add more layers for it to feel like it's alive. Now, this is just enough for it to get a purchase on the main color of the vehicle. And then we're going to go back over with the same thing. Okay, so we left this little bastard dry. Okay, let's rinse this out. All right, where did we leave off? The tracks there? Okay, cool. How are the KVs doing? We put a lot of sloshing on them, so they're probably still wet. Okay, so we're going to go back to the Archer. All right, one of the things I wanted to do to soften up these hard lines on the camouflage scheme, okay, is I'm going to go in with the base color again. We painted the base color on. We gave it the strong tone wash. We came in and we dry brushed the main color again, and then we added the Mickey Mouse style stuff. We're going to go in with the base color once more. Very, 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 very light. And go over some of the places that have the Mickey Mouse to kind of tie it in a little bit better. Because the way it looks like, it's just completely it's not part of the vehicle. It's just like it just got put on there right now. And I don't really like that look. Okay? So, that's my intention. Hopefully it's well-intentioned. So we're going to come in with the Russian uniform, which is the color that we used as a base here. And we're going to go really, really light. We're going to use a brush that is definitely dry. Very dry. It doesn't have to be very big. I might even use a new brush for this. This one. Okay? And we're going to try to get as much of this off as we can, because we don't want to go out and we don't want to fix this thing. Okay? And then we're going to go over, say like this edge here. And I do this when I do like my German 3-color camouflage. Okay? Be careful at the rate you're blasting through, you'll need more soon. Hey, I can buy anything I want. I just got to finish the stuff that I have. So this keeps me from drinking. I do this with a 3-color camouflage scheme for the Germans. They have like some green camo that goes all the way from one point to the other. And I like to put the base color on the edges, like it's faded, So just think of this as like fading. So there's this one little edge here, and it gives almost kind of like an airbrush feel to it, with a hell of a lot more control. Maybe some people can really control airbrush things really well, but I'll never master the airbrush like I can handle the paintbrush. Okay? And you can see we're letting some of this stuff pop out. Or maybe you can't see, but you'll see it in the pictures when we're done with this little guy. But I am spending a hell of a lot more effort to make this thing look good than it probably deserves, because this is a crappy casting. By today's standards, it is not very good. Okay? So that added some fade in there. Okay? That's my new rule now. I'll buy another miniature until all the ones are finished. Never buy another miniature, so be it. Hell, I even put a rule on hex and counter games for my backlog games piling up. No more games except for the soon-to-be-released fan until I've played most of the ones I have. Yeah. You got to keep yourself sometimes on a short leash, so, just to keep yourself honest. After you've bought a lot of things and done nothing with them, it's kind of an empty feeling. It's like, why am I doing this? Same thing on this top edge. Okay? These little small square brushes, square edge brushes, work really well for this. Just rub it on that edge there. Makes the details stand out. That's really useful on stuff like Panzer IIs. The turret of a Panzer II is got all kinds of cool angles, That's one of the reasons those guys lost the war. Good thing. They made their vehicles too complex. And you want to do things like that. You want those little details to stand out so that the basic shape of the vehicle is visible. Otherwise, it just turns into a blah, just nothing there worth looking at. Same thing with this corner that comes up. Same thing with this corner. Same thing with this one here. This is irrespective of the weathering, because we're going to weather this thing. It helps it tie into the base that it's on. There's another one here. Now, what I don't do is chipping. Now, I may actually have to break my rule of no chipping for the North Africa vehicles. I may. I just have to see how it works out. But I'd rather not get into chipping, because even when it's done right, it still doesn't look right to me. It just doesn't look right to my eye. Okay, just a little bit. Nothing spectacular here. And this is definitely not what I would call an attractive vehicle. You're going to use your store credit and Noble Knight games to get an operational studies group of Napoleonic battles game, but decided backlog too much, so I got the remaining two 2300 AD books. You play that with anybody, or you just kind of collecting them? Who's that made by? Is it Fast? I feel like Fast is who made that. I never played it. Back in the day, there was people. What was the superhero one? There was a superhero one that people like to play. And we're talking like, 1988, 1989. Hero something or another. Okay, that's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. All right, let's put some scratches. What I like to call scratches. So we're going to get some Russian uniform. We already have there a brush you can really count on. Man, this thing is. I could paint this from outside the other room. That one's a little too long. I don't forget to do things often, but I have forgotten to do scratches before. I'm like, well, is it really that noticeable? Sometimes. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. It's really useful like on the side of like a KV2 that's just got all kinds of space. I'm gonna put one dot here, and I don't care if some of it soaks in here. So we're gonna grab this. Actually I probably do, or we're not gonna get very far. We're gonna take some of the Russian uniform. We're gonna take some of this lighter sand color, which is the color I normally use anyways to lighten this up. And a little bit of the flow aid. And then we're going to come in and we're going to put some markings of wear and tear. Nothing major, but just some imperfections. Maybe some that even cut into this camouflage scheme a little bit. Just little points of interest that might be worth looking at. I don't know when I decided to do this, but if somebody else does something like this, well, then we both figured it out alone, together, apart from each other. Okay. Like I said, nothing super major. Traveler 2300 is made by Mongoose Publishing, but was originally made by GW. Mongoose Traveler 22nd edition took GW Traveler in modern era support process. Still the original Traveler books. My first 5 was Spinward Barches. Never heard of that one, but I'm not really in the know. I think we're ready to weather this bastard. So for weathering, we use the mid-tone of the bases, which is olive drab, which is not olive drab, it's US field drab. So we'll put some of that here. Grab this. But you're going to put markings on it. Yes, I'll put the markings after the weathering because I don't want to over-weather over the markings. It's just going to look wrong. It's really easy to just come in and touch those areas up. Yeah, these tracks are less than great quality with this manufacturer that is now defunct. I don't know what happened to the guy. I think he just kind of left the game scene. But this guy was used to be a vendor at many of our Florida shows, and about 15 years ago, he just dropped off the face of the earth. I don't know if he had family issues or something, but I picked this up from him when he was at one of the shows, so I've had this a while. I say 15 years. He probably disappeared 15 years ago. I probably got this 20 years ago. Yep. But I like this color. I really like this color as a base color for Brits, like in Italy. I can see some Sherman 3s in this. And there's no detail on the inside of these tracks. It is just totally flat. And there's still going to be one more dry brush on top of this one. So you don't want to go the whole hog, because you're going to have to add some of the Iraqi sand on it. And this, of course, is going to be filthy. And this is some kind of like tarp or something rolled up there. So we'll paint that afterwards. I don't really want to I don't want to paint tools and then dry brush weathering over them. I kind of don't mind the tools being pristine looking. There's a muffler here. It's going to be all rusty and shit. You know, we're not doing IPMS stuff. This is a war game model. We want it to look like a graphic novel. And then we'll do the same thing with old Iraqi sand. Oh, one thing we didn't do. This goes up on the side of the vehicle, son. So we'll have areas up here that mine bad. Now this is the back. Engine's back here, so. So I could have taken those M4A176s I just finished and paint them up as Brits. Because the 76 millimeter gun, 76 millimeter armed Shermans in the British Army were prioritized to go to Italy. Okay, Iraqi sand. I'm not going to rinse that off. Just going to roll with it. And once we figure out what markers we have, we'll paint them where they go, and then we'll go over with a little bit of this Iraqi sand. Just tie them all in. A little bit. Almost a very little bit. say less is more. I don't like that saying. I mentioned it yesterday. I don't like that saying. That saying needs to be changed to less is never more. Less is always less. The problem is that more isn't always better. That's what the saying is, should be. Okay, so what should you make for dinner? How about you just open up some cat food and have at it? I don't know. I had a gyro for lunch and some Greek beer, and it was spectacular. And I can prove it. I always take pictures of food, and then, sometimes I do something with it, and sometimes I don't. So we're going to have to paint the arms of service and whatever units on here. And hell, it might even be Canadian. Who knows? Canadians need troops too. But let's see if we can make our biggest mistake yet and decide to use the soft tone instead of the strong tone. The cat would, oh, you have a cat? The cat would be jealous if I did that, plus his food sucks. Does it taste fishy? I don't know, I hear about people that are really poor, end up eating like dog food and cat food, but isn't dog food and cat food can be really expensive sometimes? Like, that's not exactly a money-saving tip. Maybe if, is there dog food you can buy at the dollar store maybe? Oh, hold on one second. Okay, dinner negotiations. We're going to do the wash for this, and then we are done for the night. And let this thing percolate. We will be on probably many times this week. What time is it? Yeah, 7:30. Okay. Let me take some of this strong tone. I mean the soft tone. Well, I did mix it, didn't I? And just kind of comparison to it. Compare. It doesn't look that much different, so I don't think I'll be displeased by it. Like, it's not dark enough. I don't think that's going to be a issue. I really don't think that's going to be an issue. But let's take one of these here. And let's put more of this stuff off. I like putting it on a white type surface so I can tell where it is. And we're going to just coat this thing in this almost like a little bit more rust colored, which probably isn't bad. Probably isn't bad. This is not the color I thought it was going to be, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised. Well, we'll see when I come back and recoat it for sure. Desert vehicles are almost like a whitewash vehicles. Some people find them really elusive to do, and you have a lot of questions. So if this turns out really well, it's going to be a hit, because I think the stuff that I do, I find it might be time consuming, but man, it's super foolproof and super easy. But you got to know what the secret is, or the trick is. It's not really a secret. It's a secret if you don't tell anybody. It's a trick if it's just, I think that may be too. Where did I have this grabbed by? I don't want to break it. This is very delicate in certain places. Let's just get our fingers in it. And if we get our fingers in it, we get our fingers in it. I just didn't want to paint something and leave it tacky. Let's hurry this up so we don't mess this up. Okay, flip it over to the other side. Apply more of this. And then when we come back to this guy, first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the same dry brush, the same color on top of it, but we're going to leave some of the undertones of this soft tone underneath. So you can already tell it's almost kind of has like a muddy look to it. And I'm pleasantly surprised. I don't know, I really didn't have any expectations of what it was going to look like. It just kind of happened. Okay, this thing, let's definitely use something to shove in here and we need, I don't want to pour it on it, because I don't want too much of this base color to wash off, or there won't be anywhere for the strong tone really to get a purchase of it. Now, but the only mistake I've made so far is when I put this thing together, this little round thing back here is the antenna. And this stuff is really, really brittle. I probably should have drilled it out prior to putting it on there. I definitely want, if there's anything that says 8th Army, for me, it's tanks with whip antennas with pendants on them. And I'm a little leery of drilling into this thing now because the support behind it could break. But we'll make the right decision when the time comes to make that right decision. Now we got a predicament. Let's do this. Let's go. This stickum stuff is really handy. The blue tack or white tack or wall tack or whatever it's called. It's real handy to have around. Okay, so this is the base color of the A13. And this is where we will pick up on her when we come back to her. And like I said, I'm working on multiple different things so that you can keep the momentum going. Okay, folks. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you guys in the next one, probably tomorrow or the next day.